Part 1. The Hidden Thread. How an ancient life still owns your energy in this one. There was a woman I once guided through a deep trance in the Himalayas. We were inside a small stone temple, lit only by a single oil lamp. The moment she slipped into the void, her body shook, and a voice not hers spoke through her lips. It was not evil, but deeply sorrowful. It said, "She broke the vow, and I still feed." When she came back to herself, she wept. She didn't know why, but I did. She had touched the edge of a karmic wound so old, so specific, that it no longer fit in the category of trauma. It was a contract, a soul agreement made lifetimes ago. And that contract was still active, still binding, still feeding something she didn't understand. That's how karma works. When it's left unclaimed, it becomes a feast for energies that never die. We all carry echoes from our past lives, but most never realize how sharp those echoes become when left unresolved. They don't just show up as dreams or strange memories. They show up as repeating patterns. Chronic exhaustion, sudden fear, unexplained guilt, or psychic interference that seems irrational. We call it mental health, emotional dysregulation, or spiritual attack. But what if I told you that the root of some of your deepest suffering isn't from this lifetime? What if the demon isn't new? What if it's ancient and you invited it in long before you were born? You see, karma is not punishment. It's memory. It's energy that hasn't yet evolved into wisdom. And when you die, that energy doesn't simply disappear. It imprints, it follows, it waits for the next body, the next name, the next opportunity to resolve itself. But if that energy was tied to distortion, especially when it involved power, abuse, betrayal, or stolen knowledge, it doesn't just come back as a lesson. It comes back with attachments, entities, thought forms, shadow beings that were once your allies, your enemies, or your own creations. And if you don't meet them with awareness in this life, they will feed on you again. Not because they're evil, but because you never told them to stop.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Many of us made vows in past lives, vows to protect, to serve, to destroy, to avenge. Some were made in temples, some in battlefields, some in beds, and some in moments of unbearable grief. Those vows are potent. They are energetic signatures carved into the soul, and if they're not dissolved, they activate when the conditions are right. That's why you might feel drawn to certain people even when they hurt you. That's why you might sabotage good things. That's why your body might panic in situations that seem safe. The karma is not intellectual, it's cellular. And if you don't face it, it becomes a portal. Now imagine this. Imagine that in a life 500 years ago, you were a healer, but your healing was feared by the church. You were betrayed by someone you loved and burned alive. In your final breath, you swore to never trust again. That vow travels with you. And in this life, you find yourself pushing people away even though you're starving for intimacy. You don't know why. You just feel unsafe. But the truth is, you're not reacting to this life. You're reacting to the memory of betrayal that was never resolved. And that fear, that isolation, that refusal to open becomes energy. Energy that feeds something. A presence that stays close. A demon not of fire and horns, but of familiar pain. The demon doesn't need to attack you. It only needs you to repeat the pattern. Because every time you close your heart again, it feeds. Every time you choose silence over truth, it feeds. Every time you deny your intuition to stay safe, it feeds. And it grows stronger. Not by invading your life, but by animating the unresolved karma inside your field. That's how these entities work. They don't need to break in. They only need you to keep repeating the script you wrote lifetimes ago. So let's ask the real question. What part of your current suffering feels older than this life? What triggers you that doesn't make logical sense? What emotions seem to swell out of nowhere? What fears seem irrational but paralyzing? These are not random. They are clues. They are the GPS coordinates of your karmic residue. And if you're willing to go deeper beneath the story, beneath the therapy, beneath the affirmations, you will find the original frequency, the original agreement. And that is where the demon waits. There are many types of karmic attachments, but the most dangerous are the ones wrapped in love. Because love is a portal. It opens us. It makes us vulnerable. And if that love was distorted, if it turned into obsession, control, vengeance, or sacrifice, the karmic imprint becomes deeply embedded. We carry it in our aura. We attract partners who mirror it. And the demon feeds not on hate, but on the hunger for love that is never satisfied. That's why many of us feel addicted to someone who hurts us. It's not just trauma bonding, it's karma feeding. And until we sever the root, the cycle repeats. But how do we sever it? First, we must stop romanticizing our pain. Not all spiritual longing is sacred. Sometimes it's just past life addiction wearing a holy costume. We must stop calling every connection a soulmate. Some are soul debts. Some are karmic contracts. Some are the exact doors through which the demon enters. And you open them again and again because a part of you remembers the ecstasy before the betrayal, the power before the fall, the magic before the curse. But that memory is incomplete because it's not just a love story, it's a loop. And loops are how the past keeps feeding on the present. So here's what we do. We close the loop. We go into meditation not to escape, but to remember. We call forth the original vow. We ask our higher self, where did this begin? And we listen. We do not judge what we see. We do not shame ourselves. We simply witness. Because witnessing is the first step to sovereignty. When you see the moment the karma began, you can finally say, I release you. I thank you. I revoke this contract. And you must say it with full presence, with full authority, not as a ritual, but as a return to choice. Secondly, we must clean our field. Just like parasites live in the body when the immune system is weak, energetic entities live in our field when our vibration is scattered. That does not mean fear. That means integration. We must gather our fragments, reclaim the parts of us still stuck in that past story, the inner child, the wounded lover, the betrayed priestess, the punished warrior. We must call them back, not to erase their story, but to complete it, because only completed stories stop repeating. Now let me ask you something, and take this slowly. What if the pain you keep trying to heal isn't yours to fix anymore, but simply yours to let go of? What if healing isn't about working harder, but about choosing closure? What if you don't need to earn your freedom, but just remember you already paid the price in a life you no longer live? This is not bypassing. This is energetic maturity. It is the moment you stop trying to fix the story and start walking out of it. The demon will not like this. It will whisper that you're abandoning something sacred, that you owe it to someone, that you're betraying a lineage. These are the final lies, the last hooks. And you must look that voice in the eye and say, I owe nothing to pain. I owe everything to truth. That truth is your liberation. And when it's fully claimed, the energy that once fed the demon begins to transmute. The entity begins to dissolve, not through exorcism, through starvation. You are not here to carry old karma like a badge. You are here to complete it, to transcend it, to stand in the now as the one who remembers, not the one who remains bound. And that begins not in the heavens, but in the moment you say, I choose to no longer feed what no longer serves my becoming. Part 2, the astral prison, where forgotten vows become present chains. There is a realm most people never speak about, not because it doesn't exist, but because it's too close to the truth, too raw, too revealing. It's not heaven, it's not hell, it's the middle ground, the astral library of unfinished stories, unresolved vows, and trapped identities. Every time we die without healing, without forgiveness, without closure, part of our energy gets stored there. It floats between dimensions like a broken echo. And when our current life begins to mirror the conditions of that echo, that dormant karma awakens. It pulls us toward the same choices, the same lovers, the same betrayals, not because we are cursed, but because we are still incomplete. This is where demons operate with surgical precision. They don't just attack from outside, they pull from within. They reanimate the code that exists in your soul's archive. They remind you of who you used to be, the conqueror, the victim, the martyr, the seducer, the thief, the priestess who betrayed her temple, the warrior who killed for a false king, the mother who abandoned her child to save a village. These identities are not evil, they are simply unfinished. And the demon feeds not on the past itself, but on the energy you still give to it, the guilt, the grief, the longing, the unconscious loyalty. Let me ask you something that may shake your foundation. Who are you still loyal to long after the life ended? What old bond still feels sacred, even though it keeps you small? What false guilt still defines your worth, even though you've already paid the price in blood and silence? These are not just emotions, they are cords. And cords are how astral entities feed. They don't need your permission, they need your agreement. And if you still agree to play the role even silently, even subconsciously, they will keep feeding, lifetime after lifetime. You may think this is too far out, too mystical, but look at your life. What patterns never end? What pain keeps returning with a new face, a new name, a new disguise? That's not coincidence. That's continuity. It's karma in motion. And until you remember the origin, you cannot interrupt the loop. You'll keep healing symptoms instead of severing roots. You'll keep blaming this life for pain that was seeded centuries ago. And the demon will keep feeding, not because you're weak, but because you're unaware. So what do? First, we stop identifying with the pain. We stop saying, this is just who I am. No, this is who you were. And your work now is to release the identity that no longer serves your ascension. That means detaching from the story without dishonoring the lesson. That means thanking the karma for what it taught you, then choosing to walk forward without dragging the corpse. Because dragging it is what keeps your present life heavy. It's what keeps your aura open to entities that match the frequency of decay. Second, we must confront our hidden vows. These are the most dangerous cords because they were made in sacred moments, in temples, in deathbeds, in rituals, in grief. I will never love again. I will always protect her. I will never trust the masculine. I will always serve the light, no matter the cost. These sound noble, but they are chains because they were made without evolution in mind. They were made in trauma, and when trauma makes a vow, it becomes a magnet for distortion. The demon doesn't care about your words. It cares about your frequency. It doesn't need you to say the vow again. It just needs you to feel the same fear, the same shame, the same unworthiness. It needs you to vibrate at a level of your old wound, because that's how you become accessible. That's how your field opens, not through sin, but through resonance. And the moment your current life hits that frequency again, bam, the portal opens, the karmic echo activates, and the entity returns not as an invader but as a familiar, a forgotten pattern with a new face. This is why awakening is dangerous without integration. When you begin to awaken spiritually, past life energy becomes available. It rises, it floods. But if your body, your nervous system, and your heart are not ready to integrate the memory, it becomes chaos. You start channeling without grounding. You start attracting dark beings disguised as light. You start interpreting your visions through the lens of unresolved trauma. And the demon slips in not through drama, but through distorted mysticism. So let's talk about the practical application of this truth. How do we clear what we no longer remember? How do we cleanse karma when we don't even know what happened? The answer is presence, deep, embodied presence. You don't need to remember the full story. You need to feel the root frequency. You need to sit with the emotion that has no name, the grief that has no face, the fear that has no origin. And you need to ask it gently but clearly, what do you need to complete? Not fix, not heal. Complete. Completion is the end of the echo. Completion is the closing of the door. Completion is looking the demon in the eye and saying, there is nothing left for you here. But you can only say that when you've stopped negotiating with your pain, when you've stopped making it sacred, when you've stopped using it as identity. Because as long as your pain is who you are, the demon will always have a seat at your table. But when your pain becomes what you've transcended, the energy reverses. The hunter becomes the one who clears the field. Now, let's go even deeper. What if your karma isn't just personal? What if it's ancestral? What if it's collective? What if you're carrying the burden of a bloodline that never healed, never repented, never remembered? Many of us are not just healing for ourselves. We are closing stories for our grandmothers, our tribes, our civilizations. And the demons that feed on those stories are vast, ancient, and deeply embedded in human consciousness. We call them archetypes: the victim, the tyrant, the abandoned child. But they are more than stories. They are feeding systems. And when you say yes to awakening, you become a disruptor of that system. You become a glitch in the matrix of karmic control. That's why your life gets harder after your awakening. That's why the attacks start. That's why you feel like you're being watched. Because you are. Not by evil, but by the system that has always counted on your amnesia. And now that you remember, the game changes. So what can you do right now? Start small. Start by noticing what patterns feel ancient, what emotions feel too big for this lifetime, what relationships feel too familiar. And instead of trying to fix them, face them. Ask, is this mine? Is this now? Is this true? And if the answer is no, release it. Not with anger, with clarity, with calm, with sovereignty. Because spiritual maturity is not about fighting demons. It's about starving them. They can't feed on what you no longer identify with. They can't access what you've integrated. They can't manipulate a soul that knows it is no longer in bondage. And your job now is not to be perfect. Your job is to become clear. Clear enough to see through the illusion. Clear enough to feel the old contract arise and say, not this time. Clear enough to remember, this life is not a continuation of your karma. It is the end of it. Part 3, the final severance. Reclaiming your soul from the shadow of what. There comes a point in every soul's journey where remembering is no longer enough. You must choose. You must act. You must cut the cord between your current identity and the karmic echo that still feeds a presence that is not you. This isn't about denial. This is about liberation. Because if you've made it this far, You're not just someone curious about your past, you are someone being called to end it. And not just for yourself. For every version of you that ever bowed to fear, every ancestor who died in silence, every lifetime where your light was traded for survival. That is the weight of this moment. That is the power of your choice. You are not hunted because you were weak. You are hunted because you are ripe, because your remembrance threatens ancient machinery, because your soul has reached the voltage where karmic cords can be severed not symbolically, not ceremonially, but cosmically. But before that severance can happen, something sacred must take place. You must forgive yourself. Forgive the soul you were when you made the vow. Forgive the pain you caused when you were still asleep. Forgive the alliances you formed in desperation. Because that forgiveness is what closes the karmic file. Not guilt, not punishment, not shame. Forgiveness is the final signature that ends the contract. So I ask you, from my soul to yours, can you forgive the version of you that chose the demon? Can you forgive the version of you that used power to manipulate, that gave love to control, that bowed to dark forces in the name of survival, protection, or vengeance? Because until you do, the demon still has a claim. Not because it is stronger, but because you still believe you owe it something. And here's the truth most won't tell you. You don't owe your karma anything but closure. This is the spiritual immunity no ritual can fake. When you've truly forgiven yourself, your field becomes sovereign, not clean. Sovereign. That means no energy can enter without your conscious, aligned invitation. That means no voice can speak through you unless it matches your soul's octave. That means every being, seen or unseen, must honor your remembered dignity. And that's when the demon stops feeding. Not because you banished it, but because you no longer serve what it represents. Now, let's talk about the final form of karmic feeding. Identity addiction. This is the most subtle and seductive trap of all. It's when you've done the healing. You've remembered the lifetimes. You've reclaimed your power. But secretly, you still identify with the pain. You still need the story of betrayal to explain your wisdom. You still need the memory of suffering to validate your light. And so you keep the demon close, not to hurt you, but to remind you of who you were. This is the final test. The place where many spiritual seekers stop evolving. Because letting go of the pain would mean letting go of the identity it created. But here's the paradox. You do not lose your depth by releasing your pain. You gain your true essence. Your wisdom does not come from your wounds. It comes from your integration, your presence, your alignment, your ability to carry the memory without letting it define you. And that is the highest form of mastery. When the soul becomes so complete in itself that it no longer needs to be seen through the lens of its scars, you are not your karma. You are the consciousness that witnessed it, endured it, and now transcends it. And every time you speak, walk, or breathe from that place, you shift timelines, not just for yourself, but for entire soul groups still trapped in the loops you've just escaped. This is not poetic, this is literal. When you sever the karmic cord, the demon doesn't just lose access to you, it loses access to everyone you would have unconsciously infected through your unhealed energy. That is how important your liberation is. So let's summarize what this really means. Your past life karma is not just a story. It's an active frequency. It lives in your body, your relationships, your fears, your instincts. It creates openings that allow non-physical forces to feed. And unless it is seen, felt, forgiven, and released, it will continue to shape your current reality in ways that make you feel powerless. Not because you are cursed, but because you are still in contract. But now you know, and knowing breaks the spell. Now, you can choose. You can enter the deepest layer of your spiritual practice, not just meditation, not just journaling, but energetic declaration. You can say aloud with the full force of your being, I revoke all contracts made in fear, pain, or unconsciousness. I release all identities that no longer serve my becoming. I forgive every version of me that forgot the light. I remember who I am now, and I stand in that remembrance as my only truth. Say it again. Say it until your body trembles. Say it until something in the astral snaps. Say it until the demon that once fed begins to fade. Because it cannot survive in the presence of your full, sovereign self. That's not mysticism. That's physics. That's law. And when it fades, don't expect a parade. Expect stillness. Expect space. Expect the quiet unfamiliarity of freedom. Because when the loop ends, there is a void. And that void is not a loss. It is a new beginning. It is the blank canvas where your soul gets to write a story unbound by karma. A story forged not in reaction to the past, but in alignment with the future you came here to create. So what will you write? What will you embody now that the chain no longer pulls you backward? Who will you become when the ghost of your past lives no longer whispers in your decisions? That is the question only you can answer. And the moment you do, the entire field around you begins to reconfigure. You stop attracting chaos. You stop repeating patterns. You stop feeling like a magnet for pain. Because now, you are no longer a karmic echo. You are a sovereign frequency,